City of Makati is known as the central business district and for its high-rise buildings and shopping malls. But behind those progressive infrastructures are the historical structures that are still existing and standing strong up until now. The church that gave birth to the city. Located in DM Rivera Street, Poblacion, the oldest established piece of Makati, and hence the cultural and legacy barangay. St. Peter and Paul Parish Church is one of the oldest and most historical among the Catholic churches in the Philippines. It is a government-recognized cultural property based on the official list provided by the National Historical Commission of the Philippines. In front of the church facade is Plaza Cristo Rey, which was formerly known as the San Pedro de Makati Cemetery. Before the land seizure of the Spanish, the area of today's San Pedro de Makati was part of the Kingdom of Sapa or Namayan, ruled by the Raa Kalamay, whose residence was in Namayan, now part of Santa Ana, Manila. The Franciscan missionaries were the first to convert the Aboriginal Tagalog of Sapa to the Christian faith by 1578, after they had turned the original barangay into a visita called Santa Ana de Sapa in 1570. In 1589, Capitan Pedro de Brito, also an aide to the Spanish Army Chief of Staff, purchased today's church premises as part of a large property with a public bid of 1,400 pesos and installed his encomienda called Hacienda Pedro. On July 1, 1608, Capitan Pedro de Brito, now the newly elected Alferez General, and his wife, Ana de Herrera, donated part of their land to the Jesuits. Father Gregorio Lopez, S.J., accepted the deed of donation and endowment of 14,000 pesos for a house of probation. This house and church were to be built in the highest hill in the area, called Buenavista, and were to be placed under the patronage of St. Peter. Construction of the first church was finished under the direction of Father Pedro de los Montes, S.J. As the Jesuit encomienda began to earn at least 30,000 pesos annually from the production of earthenware, their vision of building an imposing structure began to be realized. The church was known as San Pedro y Pablo Viejo, was made from hewn stone, pebbles, and gravel mixed with mortar. Its facade is dominated with a three-tiered papal tiara with the cross keys of Saint Peter. In 1718, an ivory image of the Blessed Virgin Mary, depicted as Virgen de la Rosa, was brought from Mexico to the Philippines through the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade by Father Juan Delgado. This image of the Virgin Mary was enshrined in this church and was frequently venerated due to a relic of the Virgin's hair supposedly encapsulated in the image's breast. According to Nick Joaquin, this concept was backed by Father Murillo's description in his Historia de la Provincia de Filipinas de la Compañía de Jesús. Unfortunately, the reliquary got lost together with the ivory hands and head of the statue in Revolution of 1899. There remains an oval cavity in the upper body. The missing parts have been restored using wood as a material instead of ivory. In Lourdes Polycarpus' view, the Virgin's title stems from Our Lady as the mystical rose or Rose Mystica. In Lucca, Italy, the feast of Our Lady of the Rose is celebrated on January 30. It is believed that 3 roses were found in the arms of Our Lady on January. In the church parish, there are 2 famous festivals or fiestas held on June 29. The Feast of Apostles Peter and Paul, and June 30, the Feast of Nuestra Señora de la Rosa. The Panatang Sayaw as the Bales de los Arcos, Dance of the Arcs are an old tradition going back at least to the beginnings of the 19th century. It is a ritual of praise and thanksgiving to the saints Peter and Paul and the Virgen de la Rosa. The church was destroyed during the British occupation of Manila in 1762. It was reconstructed much later in 1849 using stones from nearby Guadalupe in Makati and May Kawayan in Bulacan Province. Other materials include used yakal and molave as wood materials and copy shells for windows. After the Jesuits' expulsion, the ownership changed. The Makati hacienda was reclaimed by the government and was sold in public auction in 1795 to Don Pedro Garuga, Marquis of Villa Medina. Through the next half-century, the property changed hands 3 times, until in 1851, it was bought by Don Jose Bonifacio Rojas, the founding father of the Rojas Ayala Zobel clan, who built a family manor on the riverbank, what is today's Poblacion's River Park, Casa Hacienda Park. During the Philippine-American War from 1899 to 1902, the church was used as a hospital to tend wounded American soldiers. American volunteers also camped on church grounds. This stay, however, resulted in the loss of the ivory head and hands of the Virgen de la Rosa. Over the years, the Makati Church underwent several renovations and changes in the design, but most of its features, like the reredos and the church bells, are still original. October 29, 2018, the Congregation for Divine Worship and Discipline of the Sacraments granted a canonical coronation to the image of the Virgen de la Rosa. The rite of crowning took place on March 16, 2019, presided by the Papal Nuncio to the Philippines. The church structure follows the Baroque style of architecture. Its architectural feature of a single rectangular nave consisting of an apse and sacristy is typical of churches during the Spanish colonial period. The altar with its original carved reredos with motifs of various flowers and fruits following the Baroque Rococo in tradition can still be found in the church.